Even in our hard times, God is still good. And how many of you like the old hymns of the church? I want to do a little medley of some of my favorite old hymns of the church, and it just begins with probably the most important one to me and one of my favorites, because it comes out of my testimony, because it just simply says, "Great is thy faithfulness."
Little ones, you lead us.
What a friend we have in Jesus. Well, I think that's all that this guitar knows. I teach different guitars, different songs. That way my wife lets me keep them. I was at the, how many of you have ever heard of Chet Atkins? Well, I'm not him. Actually, Chet was a very good friend of mine, and I pretty much learned a lot of my music and learned some of my style from him. But every year for the past 20 years, we go to this guitar convention in Nashville. It's a Chet Atkins convention, and one of the rooms that they have set up there was a little like a store. And I was trying out a blue Gretsch guitar, similar to this orange one here. And I was playing that guitar and I just fell in love with it, and I wanted that thing so bad. And I was jamming with a buddy of mine, and I looked up and about 40 or 50 people had gathered around watching us play. And in the very back of the crowd was my wife. And I thought, maybe this might be a good time. And I went, I knew exactly what it meant, man, when she went. And I played one more song, and she went like that one more time. And she walked out of the room. And so help me, this guy followed her out in the hallway and stopped her and says, "Ma'am, you ought to be ashamed of yourself." I said, "You ought to let that man have that guitar." I said, "He can be out drinking and chasing women. Instead, he's playing for Jesus. You ought to let him have that guitar." She looked up at him and said, "Sir, my husband has 17 guitars." He said, "Ma'am, I am so sorry," and turned it down. But I walked away with that guitar that weekend. But in our ministry, we've gotten involved in so many different things. We go to churches somewhere just about every Sunday night, and do concerts and share our hearts, share our testimony. But it's kind of like a missionary. It's sort of like itinerating, because we do more ministry outside the church walls. We go to public schools and church schools. I'm going to a Christian school tomorrow to do a chapel service for some kids. I don't even remember the name of it. Where's that? JMS.
There's some folks here from there.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll be there in the morning. And you can tell the kids, because I'm going to show you a little bit of what I'm going to do for them. But we go to schools, and I talk to kids about bullying and about internet dangers and about sexting and a lot of issues. It's always age appropriate, but issues that we didn't even have to deal with when I was a kid in school. And I use my different guitars as sort of the hook to get the kids' attention. So if you'll just kind of indulge me here, I'm just going to kind of cut loose and show you what I do for the kids. Because I tell them about this guitar. I named it Hannah, after my oldest granddaughter. So Hannah is a guitar. But sometimes Hannah gets this attitude that she doesn't want to be a guitar. One time she said, "I think I'd rather be a classical piano." So when I began to play, it was like... Or for older folks, you want to be Floyd Kramer. Then she changed her mind, said, "I don't want to be a piano." She said, "There's one. I want to go to church, and I want to be the church organist." Then, of course, if she was in a Methodist church, I had to do that. Then she changed her mind again and said, "You know what?" She said, "I think I can be more than one instrument." She said, "I think I'd like to be a trumpet and a trombone and a tuba all at the same time." Because she was asking how many people like to play the trumpet and play the piano. So, yeah. So she said, I want to be a Salvation Army band. I did that at an RV park down in Florida a few years ago. And after this concert, I was up here packing up stuff, and this older gentleman walked up to me, and I guess it had to happen sooner or later. He shoved a CD right up under my face and said, "Young man, my name is Major so-and-so of the Salvation Army. And I want you to take this CD home, and I want you to listen to it real good, because you don't sound nothing like no Salvation Army band." It straightened me out good. But then she decided that she wanted to be one of the Weaver Believer Survival Revival. But then I tell the kids that Hannah can be like 380 different instruments, but they're all fake. They all come out of a little electronic device. And then the message that I try to drive home to these kids is, you can look like or dress like or take on a role model and act like anybody you want. But God thinks you're beautiful, and He loves you just the way you are. You don't have to change for Him. Isn't that a cool message for kids? Sometimes it wouldn't even hurt us adults to get that message across. But then I guess I ought to do the heavy metal. Shall I? Okay, he said, give us a sample. Y'all ready for some heavy metal? I was in a Baptist church down in Florida, and there was about 30 kids on the front 2 rows, and I said, how'd you kids like to hear some heavy metal? And there was one dear old sister in the very back of the church, and she just let it out loud, "Oh dear God." So I'll just give you a sample of my heavy metal. This is a 1968 Ford Thunderbird muffler. It's a solid stainless steel, genuine muffler. And it's exhausting to play. It's loud. Now, I know a lot of people ask, especially in church, what in the world could a muffler guitar have to do with ministry? And well, I'll tell you. First of all, if you go back and look in the Old Testament, if God could use a donkey to get the attention of one of His prophets, He could sure use